you so much, Tim, for this wonderful introduction. I'm really excited. I mean, really excited to be here tonight. And I've never been to the North Ants, so at some point I say, hey, I'd love to go there. But this is not the place where we'll talk about my travel ideas, because I think, except my wife maybe, but you might not be interested in that. The idea is really to talk about how can we use these tools, and I mean, this is like a pen, how can we use these to just bring our messages across? And maybe the first thing I'd like to show you is an experiment, and I haven't drawn a lot here actually, so maybe I will spotlight my video to make sure that okay. So welcome to Hell World with Charles-Louis. Sounds very engaging, right? You might think, hey, let's put this little guy next to it. Okay, and so actually, if yeah, this is about drawing. So if you want to learn how to draw a little devil, I'll just take a sheet of Post-it, and actually what you do is you draw a circle, right? Then you can have two small vertical lines. Okay, I'm doing this very slowly to ensure that everyone follows, and then you can, I mean, mouth can be like smiling, or I mean, that's up to you to decide. And then the idea is to have like these horns. It can be just like, when you have something in between brackets. It's about Agile, so I think that most of us are also literate in computer science, and we know that brackets are very important in computer stuff, writing functions and things like that. So with that, I have written a little devil. Okay. Now, there's one interesting thing, is that I can totally change the meaning of this with adding a circle here. And suddenly it's a meetup about computer geeks. Okay, so you don't even need to know how to draw to use the power of visuals to surprise the audience. Okay, so this is one thing that I find crucial, because many people tell me, Charles-Louis, I can't draw. And I say, great, me neither. Because when people tell me, Charles-Louis, I can't draw, what they're actually telling me is that they want to be drawing like what you see in museums, or in, like in art schools. But stuff, oh, I have here, look here, I can't draw, Charles-Louis, I can't do this. Hey, John, thank you for showing this devil. Because people want to draw something like this, but that's not, it's not about that. It's about using simple visuals like the one John showed to us. He's going to be my expert now. I'm going to call on John every time that I talk about drawing. So it's about using the power of simple visuals to make us to make ourselves understood. Earlier, well, somebody talked, I don't remember if it was Tim or Tom. I'm a bit confusing the name. I think it was Tom. So he talked about the fact that I'm a bikablo licensed trainer. So does anyone know about bikablo? Apart from me, of course. And feel free to mute yourself and speak, or you can also put it in the chat. I see that Patrick has his thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that I've met you before and done a little bit of this with you in Brussels.
Yeah. I was invited, because you sent me a message about Fortis. I was invited as a guest for one of the Scrum Master events. True. So Picable is actually a German company that focuses on very simple visuals. They've brought a few books out there, and the books is actually, when you look at that, you might have seen that some agile coaches have that. It's actually a bundle of pictures in a cardboard paper. Okay, and so it's like a thick bundle of books with simple icons that you can reproduce. But the thing is, since it's so, some people say, yeah, but why bikablo? Well, actually, if you speak German, you know that pictures in German is Bilder. Okay, the cardboard paper is Karten, and the fact that it's a pad of cardboard paper, in German they say Block. Now in German they've got special powers in which actually they can put different words together and it's a new word. So they could call this book Build a Block, and in Germany everybody would have bought it and, you know, gave it to the brothers and sisters and siblings and whatever. But the thing is, if you want to go outside of Germany, it wouldn't sell because, I mean, first of all, I'm not sure, I mean, anyone here would be pronouncing this the same way as Germans do. Or maybe we've got Germans in the room, so but the thing is, Builder Block doesn't sell outside of Germany and Austria and German Switzerland. So what they did is they actually used some magic and they say, hey, let's just call it Picable, and then we have something that sells. So that's the idea of Picable. Now, again, you know, the book that you may win, one of you will be the proud owner of the USMO book, also shows about the simplicity of drawing, because this is actually also about drawing without doing arts. I see that it's a bit here. Okay, USMO. What does it mean, USMO? It actually means thinking with your pen, because if you follow the order, if you draw a big O here, okay, this is the letter O, okay, and then if underneath this O you draw a U, the letter U, and then crossing the U you draw the Z, and then there's one letter missing, the M, that you put in here. Actually, what you have an opportunity to start thinking with your pen and sharing your ideas. And again, this is all accessible to non-artists. And the real power of that is that Martin Hausmann, who's the founder of Bikablo, actually, he started working with organizations in order to make whatever was happening in these organizations visible using visual language. Drawing pictorial landscapes. And sometimes people tell them, hey, actually, Martin, what you drew here is not quite how we live this. Then he would give the pen to that person and say, okay, well, add to my drawing. And the people would say, I can't draw. So that's where the idea of getting the books out was born. But this is not here. I'm not here to talk to you about the Bikablo, because I think most of you are here with pen and paper. So maybe it would be good to start hearing also about what you want to do tonight. So before I move on to the next page, I would like to divide you into 4 groups. Okay. And so I will ask you, for those of you that have a last name, okay, please, if your last name starts with A to G, then consider yourself to be in group 1. I'm going to use a smaller pen because otherwise this post-it will be too small. If your last name starts with the letter H to M, you are in group 2. All right. This is really the very important bit about this workshop. If this fails, then the rest of the workshop will totally fail. So that's just no pressure for me. If your last name starts with U to Z, you're in group 4. Okay. And if your last name starts from N to T, you should be in group. I don't know if somebody can guess this right. 3. It's 3, not 5. Okay, and for those that don't have a last name, you can pick one group. All right. Okay, so I will move on to here, and I will ask to so John, because you could draw a very nice devil earlier with a red face, I would like you to pick a number between 1 and 4. So you can unmute yourself, or you can just show with your finger.
I think 3.
Okay, thank you, John. You pick 3. All right. So then now I'm going to check somebody who's in group 3, and I can see Remigius, you're in group 3. So you see here, it's hell again. No, it's hello. So Remigius, please unmute yourself, and you can choose. I don't know if you know these things. They are from playing cards, right? So you have the hearts, you have the spades, you have the clubs and the diamonds. Okay. So please pick one.
Diamonds.
Ah, yes, they are forever. Okay, so now the thing is, underneath this thing, there's a prize, there's a question. Okay. What I would like to happen is that everyone except those from group 3. So if your last name is Pielikis, or if it has a letter that starts through N and T, so please refrain from answering. All the others from group 1, 2, and 4, make sure your keyboard works, and then start typing in the chat. You will get 1 minute to answer this question, okay? Are you ready? Okay. So the first question for everyone except group 3 to answer in the chat: what challenges do you face when using visuals? And the minute has started. Lots of answers coming in. And okay, time's up. So please finish writing your sentence. I will change my camera again. So now, group 3, you've been slacking a bit, right? You haven't done anything while the others were vigorously typing on their keyboard. I would like you to go through all the answers that you can see here. And I would like you to summarize the most important points. So it's not about repeating the 535 different answers. It's really about summarizing this so that we can have like the most important points on the challenges that people face when using visuals. Of course, you can also add your own. No one will notice. But so somebody from group 3, so just unmute yourself and start summarizing main points.
Okay, I'll go through, I guess. So pick terms around, well, as we've sort of been saying, about artistic skills or just having the right equipment and pens. The people just having an idea or a vision of, you know, not knowing what to do, just generally not being very confident with it. Just being self-conscious or understanding what things represent.
Yeah,
and that's about the gist of it.
Great. So and actually they're all great questions, you know, like artistic skill is something that can really put some fear into, like, if I give the pen to somebody, they'll tell me I can't draw. But we all forget that when we were 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old, we made a drawing that looked like anything but our parents, and then we gave it to us and say, hey daddy, that's you. And we were very proud of it. So what has happened that suddenly we forget that we could draw. And sometimes what it just needed for us to understand that it's our parents. It was that the teacher had written papa or mama, or, you know, whatever, the cow or something, the family cow or something like that. So if you don't know where to start, I can give you a tip. Okay, you've got this piece of paper, so please, you can follow along with me. Okay, take a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, put it in front of you. Take your pen, remove the thing, forget the word anyway.
Lid.
Yeah, thank you. Remove the lid. Yes, and then if you don't know where to start, put your pen on the paper, and that's where you start. Okay, so now you have a dot on your page. Great. You'll tell me, okay, Charles-Louis, thank you, but that hasn't helped me a bit, I guess. I see people frowning. People say, okay, you know, if it's that, you know, might as well leave. I just learned to draw a dot on a page. Thank you. Okay, great. So if you leave your mark there and then you start moving your pen to the left or to the right, actually, you've created a horizontal line. Isn't that marvelous? Yes, I see John very proud, and I see Chris saying, ooh, I've just drawn a line. Yes, great. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, yes, please, you can show them on the screen. Okay, all right, okay. One line is not enough, right? Let's up the ante a bit. Let's, you know, just put your marker on top, somewhere on the middle, on top of the line. And now you move your arm downwards. What is this? It's a cross. But wait, as a consultant, this is a very useful drawing. Even as a Scrum Master, is a useful drawing, because you just have to put, you know, this thing, it's an accent that we use in French a lot. You know, it's called the accent circonflexe. I'm not going to write it. This is not going to be on the test, but this is the, you know, anyway, we use it, and then you can put it here. You turn it sideways and you put it there, and suddenly, you know, you can put many dots here and there, and then you can start selling a transformation plan to any company, and they'll pay you tons of money. I see, okay, I see some people nodding. They see the money coming in, right? Hey, now I can get rich using visuals. Fantastic. You've already used stuff like that? I mean, you don't even have to draw the dots. You could just draw these two lines and ask them to put post-its, colored post-its. You know, in-person events are happening again. You can do that and get paid a lot. Okay. You're always free to mention me, huh, as an influence to get this right. Okay, because, you know, it's cost me so many years of my life to get this right. Okay, so lines, great, you can get rich by that. There's also another one, and I don't know if some of you also done some applied mathematics, because you know the sine wave. If you don't know it, think about the letter S that fell on its face and then was a bit like flat. Okay. I'm not going to ask you about any formula about sine wave. Also, another one that we did earlier was the basis for the devil, or also for the lamp. It's called a circle, okay, or a round shape, or a potato, depending on how round your circle is. Okay, and if you got potatoes, that's fine. You know, you can also try to draw a devil with a potato. But anyway, so the circle is also a great shape to use. There's also the square. So for the square, actually, the trick is you do exactly the same thing as here. I start with a horizontal line, but instead of putting my pen in the middle, I just put my pen here. Okay. But I already see John frowning and saying, this is not a square because this line is much longer than that one. And I say, John, you're right. And my internal critic says exactly the same. However, for the sake of me advancing in my visual, I will just tell my internal critic to shut up. And it's about making sure that no one confuses it with a circle. Okay, so this is a great tip. If you really want to make sure that you advance with your visuals, it's about making sure that people don't confuse your shapes with another one. Circle, potato, same shape. Square, potato, not the same shape. So I start with this, and then it's just a matter of finishing up the shape. Okay. And actually with these shapes, we can already do a lot. Tom is like having big eyes. He's like curious, yeah, what is he going to tell us right now? Well, if I draw this circle bigger, it's not a circle, right? Says my internal critic. It's a bit like pear-shaped. I say, shut up. It's not a square. It's not an S shape. Okay, great. Then I take here and I draw a smaller square to the side. And then I take this S shape and I put it here. I take some of the small dots that I had here and then I draw them there. And suddenly, what do I have? Oh, I see people being panicked. John is making, yeah, a bomb. Well, you know, I'm Belgian. So actually, I could even quote my fellow artist, René Magritte, who would say, ceci n'est pas une bombe. This is not a bomb. It's actually the visual representation of a bomb. The great advantage of this, yeah, and I see, yeah, wow, mind-blowing, Chris, exactly. You know, and the advantage is that this is not risky. If I put it somewhere on a piece of paper on a flip chart in an organization, this will not blow the company up. You know, it is important that we, you know, like that we stop a bit and that we reflect on that. However, we can use this visual representation of a bomb to bring a certain message across. And I'm curious, you're free to unmute yourself or to put it in the chat. What kind of message could we pass by using this visual?
Risk.
Risk, yes, exactly. Oh, this is the risk.
No. Do it again.
Time is running out.
Danger as well. I see something about time or
Time.
yeah, time pressure or sense of urgency, things like that. So you see, actually, and this is where now I ace everyone at Pictionary, because all these complex things, sometimes I can just draw the bomb and then I let people guess different things. But it's much easier than to draw conflict or to draw like, you know, sibling rivalry or something like that. Okay. So people afraid of their art skills, it's really about drilling down and going down really to the basics of it. Remember the USMO light bulb moment. It's really about simplifying so that you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to have a place next to Monet, next to Van Gogh, next to, you know, all the other people, even Magritte. You just, as long as it works for your team, for your organization, it's okay. I hope this relieves some of the pressure from the people that said, oh, I'm bad with my art skills. You know, it's just about drawing a potato, a square, and an S shape. Okay. Some other people might say, yeah, but you know, this is a bit like I'm missing something. I say, great, okay. What if we drew a triangle? And now with the triangle, we've got even more options. It's like crazy because I could draw, again, a potato, a triangle here. And oh, this is where it gets really, really, I mean, please follow along. Put your pen here, not there, okay? Not at the bottom of the triangle, really in between the triangle and the circle. I mean, you can draw another one next and then try it by putting it there. But the one that I would like to show you is if you put it here. If you, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what happens if you start the S there, but it has to do something with increasing the population of Earth. So anyway, what's this?
Balloon.
Yes, a balloon. Great.
Sorry, a visual representation of a balloon.
Exactly. Yeah. And René Magritte is thanking you for you catching yourself so early. Same thing, you know, we can also use balloons to represent things like, hey, we finally ended this project, you know, after 5 years, or yoo-hoo, yeah. So it's all about like, in what way can I use this to make sense of the world, of the visual world? So, Craig, you talked that, I mean, when you summarize, you told about knowing where to start, you told about the art skills. Were there any other things that I may have forgotten to cover?
I think it was most having ideas and the confidence of, you know, where they want to go to.
Okay. Does this thing, and I'm asking you and or the group because I'm keeping an eye on the chat, does this fact of having one single, like the bomb, but to represent different things, does this ease the fear of, I don't know how to represent sibling rivalry or things like that? Or, and I'm asking maybe the people who told that they didn't have the ideas. Have I mitigated this risk? Or do you still need something more precise? Okay, if it's silence, then I guess. Craig, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say creativity, and it's yes, somewhat.
Okay, so it's really about like
Yeah, I said
yeah, and you know what? If you're not sure, you can also use these tools. They've got a crazy amount, you know, in the emoji function of Telegram, WhatsApp, or whatever thing. You've got crazy amount of, I mean, even here in Zoom, in the Zoom chat, if you click next to the chat thing, there's also smiley, and then you can choose from tons of them, and then you can just copy that. Okay, and usually these emojis are kind of easy to draw, you know, like drawing a smiley face. Starts with a potato, and then there's one that's really had the rage the last few months. I don't know if you've seen that one. This is the one with the face mask. Okay, I'm going to draw it bigger because maybe my screen is too small. So it's really about, again, I draw my potato. I draw 2 vertical lines, and then here I draw a line. Oh, they started to watch a movie next door. So if you hear some people shouting or crying, they're not being killed next door. Okay, it's a movie. So, and this is how you draw somebody with a face mask. If you want to draw the infamous virus, you can draw a circle with lines here, and then that's enough. You can even make him look evil. You know, so I drew the 2 eyes, but then I did some frowny eyebrows. That's enough. You can even write. You know, it's a lethal virus. Okay, we are allowed to write. Okay, remember this. Welcome to hell world. Okay, we are allowed to write. Oh, I see some people really like, oh, great. That puts a lot of pressure off my shoulders. So yes, you are allowed to write when you use visuals. Okay, so I think that covers it. Anyway, no one really said something like they're missing something from the what challenges do you face when using visuals, and of course you might have new ideas. Thank you, Tristan, for adding the face mask in the chat. Okay, Craig, since you summarized, can you please give me a number between 1 and 4, but please don't take 3 because 3 is already taken.
Go with 1.
1. Okay, go with 1. Okay, so the 1 is the group with their first letter between A and G. All right. And so I'm seeing his big hand. So I'm going to take Patrick, Patrick Foster. Please choose either a heart, a spade, or a club.
I'm going to go with clubs.
Great. That's this one. Oh, I forgot to write this down. That's a surprise. Thank you. Okay, so what am I going to ask as a question here? Yes, okay. So one dream I have regarding visuals. So it's really like, where would I love to use it, but I can't right now. Okay. So everyone except group 1, be ready to type your answers in the chat. And now I'm going to go on. Type your answers in the chat. So one dream I have regarding the use of visuals to help. Okay. So I'm not going to choose Patrick because you've already chosen. I'm going to go with Judy. Hey, Judy. How are you?
Hi. Do you know, I had a worry you might do that because it's quite diverse if you want me to summarize what's going on here.
Oh, well, hey, you know what, Judy? You are free to ask for help.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How about I pick out the first 2 or 3 and then we get another somebody that's between A and G? Because I can see that there's a big theme around retrospectives. So some people would love to be able to use them in their retrospectives and also in training. And the third one that seems a little bit common there is around solving problems. So to be able to do visualizations around problems.
Yeah, that's already a lot. So can you pick somebody from your group?
Yeah, why don't I pick Chris Fisher?
Hi. Thank you. It's fine. I'm staring up and down trying to figure out whether there's something else to add. To be honest, you probably have pretty much. The retrospectives is definitely the biggest. In just generally around also back to what we kind of said before, really, about having the confidence just to be able to draw things and then using pictures instead of words when it's the appropriate. That's kind of the other 2 things that crop up there.
Okay, so the main idea is about training through retrospectives and then using visuals to represent ideas. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and for the other people, if there's something that we are really, really missing, that you say, oh, I put this idea and no one picked it up. Now is the time to talk. Otherwise, please remain silent until the end of, or until you are invited to speak again.
Just me, obviously,
John.
tools around that, because we're not all in person. And to be honest, using a mouse to try and do drawing is quite hard.
Yes. And by the way, I'm not using a mouse. I'm using a pen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the one I was going to pick up as well, John.
So yeah, for the tools, are you talking about like digital tools to draw digitally, or are you?
Yes, pretty much. It's the drawing it digitally.
Okay.
You know.
So that's the one I might want to park, or to just like gracefully not answer and just pretend I didn't hear it. Because I mean, there's so many tools. So okay, I'm gonna answer it in a specific way. You might be cross with my answer, but that's just it. The thing is, so there are different tools to draw digitally. You can use your iPad, you can use your Android tablet, you can even use your computer. There's one thing where I'm not that much into it, is that it adds, pun intended, a whole layer of complexity. Because when you start using digital tools, it starts to work with layers, with undo, with different masks, with different things, which kind of distracts me from this simple pen, paper, lines stuff. So that's like my quick answer to kind of just say, you know, let's park it. Because if you really want to start using it, but you're not, you know, all the other things that we asked before about, like where to start, what kind of ideas we can use, and so on. Adding this extra complexity of digital tools will slow you down. Doing it on paper first with a camera, like I have a document camera. If you want to know, it's the Picable brand. I can put it in the chat. Because they've got some nice things, and they also even have something for laptops I saw, which is a small mirror that can just direct back to the so it's like non-expensive. So it's, the brand is Picable. And so the good thing is, also when I teach visualization online, well, people can just see my hairy hand. They can also see the marker, how it's on the paper, and so they can also kind of learn from that. Much better than when we are in person and we are forced to stay away from each other because of whatever, not everyone's vaccinated or things like that. So that was a bit more than 5 seconds for this answer, but can Patrick and John, can you both live with that answer? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, great. So using it for trainings and retrospective, that's a great thing, because that's actually where I started. So I'm just going to start with an example. There's one way that you can use it at the start of a retrospective, is by drawing a welcome poster. And you don't need to draw all that. You can just say, welcome to retrospective team, whatever, and then have a funny guy next to it, and that's it. A welcome poster is already great. You can also use a welcome poster for trainings. Okay. Now, okay, that's maybe a cheap answer. Another one is, let's say that you are running a retrospective and maybe you thought, oh, let's do the mad, sad, glad. Oh, well, with the mad, sad, glad, you can, again, you can use these. Okay. And so the sad would be like, I have added a small dot here to indicate a tear. And then this is again a parenthesis. And then the glad, well, I just turn this around. By the way, I noticed that if I draw the circle first, I can center this much better than if I draw the circle last. This is some food for thought. If you want to, your inner critic to shut up, maybe first draw the potato and then put the circle, the things inside. Okay. So now another thing is, one thing I'd like to know a bit more about the request behind using it in trainings, because it can be very broad, a broad topic, and I'd like to get some some better understanding of what's the question behind that question. So using visuals in trainings. What, so the people who wrote something like that, what were you expecting, or what did you have in mind?
I feel like the answer may have been to magically make people understand things, but
Okay, that's great. If you want people to magically understand things, I've got one trick for you. I mean, there's two options. This is the easy one. Okay, this is version 1 of the magic wand. There's the other one where you can draw a star. This is another magic wand that you can use. Now, for people to understand stuff, it's important, and I think this is really critical, actually, what you're saying. For people to understand stuff, there is one thing is we need to be aware of cognitive load. Anyone familiar with the term cognitive load? Can anyone maybe summarize it? Because if you explain it in 5 hours, you are not, yeah. What is cognitive load?
or just that you can only take in so much at once without overwhelming you.
Yes, exactly. So when we use visuals, it's important that we know about that so that we make our visuals as simple as possible. For instance, if I were to explain Scrum to somebody, I could imagine that maybe the backlog would be something like this. All the stuff that still needs to happen, okay? This could be the backlog, just stuff laying on the floor and waiting to be picked up by the team. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then the team would meet. So for the team, I would draw, this is actually the letter U, but turned upside down. Okay. Then I add the letter O on top. So this would be the team picking up the work. And then they would probably work. And so again, I'm trying really to take it simple. So maybe I don't even need to add hands, but I could add hands to show that they are like taking in the work, but it's not necessary. It's really about what message am I trying to bring? Okay. When they are working on it, I could again draw something very artsy, full of information, or sometimes just with a pair of scissors, I can show that they're actually working on stuff. Or some other people like to say that people are resources. So actually they could be like drawing cogs, because resources are used in machines. By the way, resources don't have feelings, so I don't use that term to talk about human beings. But anyway, if you do, and if you think that this speaks to you better than this one, feel free. Again, you know, this is like potatoes with lines on it. Okay, so it's really about what am I trying to represent, and to remember our great friend René Magritte. And use the power of metaphors. You don't need to represent a Scrum team of 5 people with drawing 5 people, plus the product owner. Oh, and she's a woman, so I need to draw a woman, and blah, blah, blah. If you do that, you're just adding complexity. If we remember the cognitive load, and it was Craig that said it, it's about like making sure that we can only take in so much. So actually, visual thinking is much more about thinking before drawing than drawing. I see people nodding. I hope it's not because you're falling asleep. No, still some smiles, so the jokes still seem to work. Okay. I mean, I'm speaking, but I don't have any feedback on what I'm saying. Does it make sense? Do you want to know more? Should I go deeper into it?
So how could you simply show cross functionality in that team?
Cross functionality.
People with different people with different brains, let's say.
Ah,
Put it
great.
that way.
There are different ways to do that, but you know, here they all look the same. So maybe for cross functionality, I could, again, I'm drawing them here. Okay, 3 people, but maybe I could draw a head like this, and then a head like this, and then a head like this. And I could also write, you know.
You could put letters on them, you know, T, D, P, etc.
Exactly. Cross-functional. I could also write cross-functional underneath it. Remember, we are allowed to write. We're not trying to make the people in our trainings look foolish because they can't understand what we drew. Oh, you can't see it's a Scrum team? You know, it's not about them guessing what you meant. It's about helping them understand. Knowing about this little guy so that we really need to help them. Does that make sense? So at some point, if I don't know how to draw something, sometimes it's just about like finding a metaphor and then adding the word underneath. And usually with the context, people know what it's about. Because here, I could even draw first a team with triangle heads and a team with square heads. And then before, after. Okay, so that you can explain that we move from one to another.
Would you usually, so if you're facilitating some kind of session on a particular topic, would you usually go in with prior thought about what the topic is and some kind of symbols and pictures that you may need to pull out the bag during the session, rather than going in
yes,
completely blank?
Yes, Tom. Yes, 1,000 times yes. It's really about thinking before we draw. So if I have a session, if I am running a retrospective and I kind of know the topic, know kind of, you know, what are we going to talk about, or what kind of, because I was with the team, so I know their struggles, I know what they're dealing with. I could already prepare and say, okay, you know, this bomb, I really want to ace it. So I will practice the bomb. Okay. Also, I'm going to tell you a secret, and since this is recorded, it's not a secret anymore. But it's allowed to prepare your posters in advance. And then suddenly, or sometimes, you can also look foolish because you thought you had prepared everything, and then suddenly one question is left blank. And then you have to come up with a question in front of a group that just thinks that it was made there on purpose. Okay, but this happens. Okay, just the thing is, the more you prepare, the less this will cause panic. Does that make sense? Okay, so regarding trainings and retrospectives, what questions do you still have, knowing that we also still have 2 questions to go?
I think one thing I would like to say, Charles Louis, is that I know I've worked with a colleague that was also at that session in Fortis, and we've used these sorts of drawings in training, but we've put them into the PowerPoint. So we've drawn them away from the training, captured them with our phones, put them in as a picture in the actual training.
Yeah, I mean, this is all valid. I think the one thing, it's really about like practicing this or getting into the hang of doing it. However, one thing where I would say, if you draw it once and then you use the same drawing to reuse it in all your PowerPoint, then you're not practicing this, because it's really about prepping the brain and making the brain practice this, really thinking about using metaphors to simplify messages. It's not about, okay, I drew it once, I can reuse the drawing everywhere.
Yeah, no, this was more about that when 18 months ago, when we had to take everything off of the real world and into the digital world, and hand-drawn symbols actually have more power sometimes than corporate clip art.
Because they are not perfect. People love potatoes instead of circles because they know that you made them. And that's how you are not just something that's come off of a clip art library. Okay. I don't know what they're watching. I think they're watching Lord of the Rings or something like that. It seems very violent. Sorry if you hear that, but okay. So yeah, it's really about simplifying, going to the essence and telling your internal critic to shut up. And if you have a specific concept to explain and you've already done it 1,000 times, I noticed that when I started using this, I was giving Scrum trainings. And then, okay, I had just gone to the 2-day Picable training in Germany, and I had made one poster that explained Scrum. Great. If I look at it right now, my internal critic will say, well, ha, 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 but I don't care. Anyway, I had a one-pager that would explain Scrum. So I had my slides. I would present my training with the slides, but with the poster there, at some point I noticed that I was explaining stuff on the poster. Then people had questions, which I answered using the poster. And then at some point, 1 hour later, still next to the post, and then I came back to the slides and I noticed that I had covered everything. Oh, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. Okay, time for a break. Great. Because there was less on the poster, people had questions. Because people had questions, they felt engaged. And maybe I just winged it, who knows?
Do you find that sessions can become, how do you prevent sessions becoming disjointed, where you're busy drawing, you're busy writing, it's silent, and you create that disjointed session? Do you ever find that a risk?
I'm going to answer this question with another question to you and to everyone. How do you feel this current session, with me drawing, with me writing, being disjointed or not? And this is really like a transparent question. Feel free to answer. How do you feel this?
I think, well, for me, because you're a pro, you've practiced it. Maybe it's just practice. You can draw because you know what you're going to draw. You can talk about the same time, right? Is that fair?
Well, I'm not sure I know what I'm going to draw, because all these questions, these answers, they come from you. But so yes, there is some practice indeed. 4 years ago, I probably wouldn't have done a session like this. But it's about like really training, and again, prep work is allowed. It's okay to have your, my Scrum poster. For the first 3 months, I didn't redo it. I did some other posters next to it, but I kept it. So it's okay to have something which is prepped, which is drawn up front. People didn't expect, they didn't come to the Charles Louis show. They came to learn about Scrum, and the poster was just a tool to help the message get across.
So it's about reducing your cognitive load as you're presenting.
Exactly, Tristan. Yes. Because when I'm presenting, I need to be aware of what's happening in the group. I need to be aware of, many other stuff. So if I'm busy drawing the script, if I give them an assignment and they're working on something, then I can work on my posters. And this is something that takes practice, because I tell you this based on my practice, and maybe right now you're telling me, yeah, but I still can't draw. And of course you will need to practice being okay with drawing a bomb, with drawing a light bulb and all these things, before you can start really like practicing this I don't know, brain gymnastics, a term I just made up. So don't start looking for it. There's no research on it or anything. It's just like making sure that your brain, or that you are focused on the right. It sounds like Scrum or Agile, you know, being focused on the most important stuff at the right time. Oh. Oh, what a coincidence, you know. And even, you know, this bomb and these simple drawings, I think simplicity is a key principle, you know. So there you go. So I see that time is flying, and there's still, I mean, you know, we go with a question that was not prepared, and there are two questions that are prepared that haven't been asked yet. So Judy, since I think you got some things, I'm going to ask you to pick a number between 2 and 4.
2, please.
Okay, so group 2, that is the last names between H and M. And I will pick, I will pick the host, Tom. Tom, could you please, by the way, for those who don't know how to draw a spade and they can draw a heart, you just flip it upside down and then you add here the thing. So which
I'm
one?
going to go for hearts, please.
Great. Oh, this is actually cool. So everyone except group 2, please type in the chat, what is your experience with using visuals? Okay. So somebody from group 2, which is not Tom. What about John? I know you're in group 3. Sorry. I'm messing up with my letters. Yeah, but okay. I only see half of the people. Okay, well, Tom, please pick somebody from your group. And you're on mute.
Right. I'm going to go for Lavinia. That's how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, that's correct. So based on the comments that are in the chat, I would say most people, they are saying that they are using visualization in meetings, so to moderate meetings, to facilitate meetings, meetings.
Many meetings.
Meetings, yeah, retro, I can see, so more or less, yeah, let's say formal context where there are multiple participants, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one that I saw that I found quite interesting. Somebody wrote texting.
Text.
You know, when we use WhatsApp, Telegram, or whatever, all these things, how often do we use visuals or only text? Even now on LinkedIn, the professional network, I mean, it's been a while now, we can also use emojis. So, yes, thank you, John. Fly me to the moon. So we use visuals all the time, actually. And even when we speak, we talk with metaphors. So I'm glad that I see so many users of visuals, and it's not always about you needing to draw. And really, again, this session is not about me or you leaving this and then saying, okay, if I don't draw, I'm just going to be very angry at myself or stuff like that. It's just like using, yeah, sorry, Craig. It's just like finding ways to use visuals in many different opportunities. And as you can see here, there are so many opportunities for using visuals. It's crazy. Okay, so on this thing, I see that you are very experienced and that I have nothing to teach you. Right? Exactly. So let's go with so Steve Johnson, please, can you choose one number between 4 and 4?
4.
Great choice, great choice. And so for 4, it's a group with
Thank
the
you.
last names between U and Z. So I'm seeing Ed Watson on my screen, and I'm sure that Watson fits between U and Z. So Ed, hello. Can you please choose which question would you like to?
Ooh, I like spades, I must say. I have
Ah,
a particular
great.
penchant for them.
Yeah, the ace of
Great choice. Well done, sir.
Yeah, I wouldn't have chosen otherwise. Thank you, Ed. Okay, and this is really the beauty of these interactive and random sessions, because I mean, I know which question is there, but I love this. It's 20 to 8 or 9. What would you love to get out of this session? It's brilliant that this question comes up right now. So again, everyone except group 4, and thank you, Aladdin. So everyone except group 4, please type, what would you love to get out of this session? We have 20 minutes to go. Okay, so there's somebody else from group 4. I'm gonna maybe Phil Thompson. Can you please summarize some of the key points that people would love to get out of this session with the
seeing excuse me, I'm seeing confidence and people getting confident, and I'm seeing people being able to express themselves and be creative and be able to also convey a message, but while still being able to listen.
Wow.
Whoa, so stop.
Okay, so that's a lot, and I would say that all these points, I can only see them happening as a result of constant practice, or no, not constant, regular practice. I doubt that in 18 minutes, I would give each of you confidence of being able to do it. I doubt that, and like, I know that I'm just a human being, so I know that in 18 minutes, I will not give you the confidence of being able to draw while listening, because this is a skill that takes practice. Okay.
You could creatively interpret it and draw a confident person.
Exactly. Or I can draw an arrogant person. What's the difference? Yeah, so you know, I mean, the thing about using it in workshops, maybe one tip that I can give you, and tip pun not intended, one tip that I can give you is prep your posters in advance. Some people spend weeks to create their PowerPoints. Why can't you just spend an hour or two to prepare a poster? Yeah, sometimes, I mean, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Hi, John.
Hi,
how do you create that poster? Because let's say if I'm going into a workshop or a problem solving or brainstorming session, don't know what's going to come out, isn't it? So I say, oh, this is the problem statement, and 10,000 ideas might come out. So I'm not prepared for that, right? So how do I prepare the poster?
That's, I mean, it's a great question, because it's, as I said earlier, it's really about thinking before we draw. And if you are there to capture a brainstorm session, you will also need to gain some like things like how fast can I write? How confident am I to have a backpack full of icons or visuals that I can just draw like this? You know, it's not only putting everything on the paper, it's also about what other skills do I need. And I know that it's, you know, on LinkedIn and Instagram, it's easy. People just show their poster. They post it and people say, oh, look at this sketch note that I did. Look at the poster that I did. But what people don't see, and this is like your question as well, is how to put all this on the page. And some people, you know, would say, hey, actually, if I draw a mind map, it's already an idea. Okay. Well, how does a mind map works? You've got a concept here at the center, and then you've got things floating around with lines. So if you want to capture a brainstorming session, I would say that the idea of a mind map with or without lines could be a good use of space. I don't know if that answers your question, but again, I'm like this, before you arrive at this place, there's the other practice that needs to happen as well.
I think a good thing I started with, Charles Louis, was from the workshop you did, was actually the sort of labels. So starting with meeting agendas, you know, you've got the fixed label, which is agenda, and then you've got the meeting items, and you can either use post-its, but you can use that difference between a screw and a pin and a bit of tape,
yeah,
to give that emphasis around transience.
Yeah, exactly. So there's indeed different ways to use labels, to use containers, to put text in it. And once you start working, and again, it's something about a practice also, because indeed, if I have some text here and I put a pin on it, I can see that it's a post-it. If I have some text here, okay, and I draw the 4 circles here with a line in it, then I can see that there is a difference between this and this, not only because of the text, but also because the way the frame works visually. Again, it's a metaphor. If people write "we're agile" here, or if they write "we're agile" here, I don't know which one I will trust more. You know, agility is in our DNA for more than 55 years or something. You know, we haven't changed a thing. You know, it's indeed about, and if you want to draw during a brainstorming, I would say that it's really about starting to build up your visual vocabulary. And things that can help with that is either to check out on the internet, check the you know, your WhatsApp icon database. You've got also how's it called? There's an icon reference. I just can't come on the name right now. It's a website where you can.
Can I just add to what Patrick said? I often go in with just cards for like a Kanban to doing done, and just small ones. Stick them up on a wall, and then, you know, let people put post-its or gather post-its under them. Simple things like that. If you can prepare it, make a big impact.
Exactly, and what you're saying, Ed, actually reminds me what we started with is how to get rich quick using visuals. Remember this one? 2 lines. You don't need more. If you think you need more, then it's probably your inner critic saying, hey, you need to be in a museum. There's a spot there in the British Museum. Maybe you should go there. Okay. remember, simplicity. What comes after it? Someone can quote the manifesto by heart. There is something about
It's the art of not.
Yeah, the art of
maximizing the art of not. Yeah, I should know it.
the art of
maximizing the amount of work not done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, 2 lines. I don't need more. Okay, I think we're nearing the end of the session. I think I'm going to show my face again and maybe remove the spotlight. Yeah. And maybe I'm just going to open up. I mean, to just do an open mic thing because I mean, I had 4 questions prepared. No, 3 questions prepared. Is there anything like you're still dying to, there's a question here in the chat. Do different ways of organizing visuals work better for different types of conversation? Yes. So does my answer help you? So, I mean, you know, it comes back with the different frame types. You know, it's all about the metaphor that you create for the conversation.
And does it not depend also on the context of what you're presenting, how you're presenting it?
Exactly.
You know, going on for a board meeting, you probably wouldn't draw my little Mr. Potato Head, for example. You said potato, it became a head. Yeah, so the board would never see my Mr. Potato Head, but they may see my wonderful star field that you also mentioned. You know, it's about the context.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, board members are people too. They appreciate potato head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, about board members, a few years ago, I gave a training in a hospital in Switzerland, Hôpital du Valais, it's called. And you know, in the bikablo training, actually, what happens is, of course, you get acquainted with the basics and so on, and then some icons. But the thing is, the afternoon of the second day is dedicated with everything you've learned. You create a poster that you can use as from the day after. Okay, so let's say they have something to do. And then I had these people from the hospital telling me, yeah, but you know, shall we can't use it in a board, you know, in a project board meeting, can we? I say, try me. Of course you can. Why couldn't you? Yeah, I see people leaving by. So they were really afraid of what would people think when I come in with a paper and people are just expecting slides. I say, okay, I urged them to do it and I encouraged them to do it. So actually they did. And a few weeks later, I asked them, hey, how did it go? So actually they had prepared 2 posters because of cognitive load and whatever they wanted to put. So they had 2 posters to present their project in a project board. They were, I think, the 3rd group to pass. Of course, before them, there were slides. After them, there were slides. And they came with their flip charts and suddenly like everyone was like, oh, what's happening? Their brains were like completely like, whoa. And of course, there was less information on the flip charts than that there would be on PowerPoints. By the way, big secret, PowerPoints, if there are handouts, please don't use the same slides as handouts as the ones that you're using for presenting, okay? Please stop doing that. If you're doing it, stop. Thank you. So there was less information on their posters than there should be. So of course, again, questions. People were wondering, okay, how's this going to fit in its strategy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So they told me, Charles-Louis, you wouldn't believe it. Everyone was so engaged. They really asked thorough questions. We got some insights as well from this because they asked questions that we didn't think about. And so, yes, so they did it, then they could really see the value of that. I don't know why I said that. I think there was a question about the board members are people too, and the potato head. So yeah, really you can use that everywhere, and it's really about like building up your own confidence and taking things step by step. Don't do a live conference scribing on a big graphic wall if you're not sure yet about which visuals to use when. I mean, that's my tip. If I can leave you with one tip, I would say that.
Just a thought, Charles Louis. I can imagine kind of coming away from the session and trying to draw something and thinking, this thing that I'm trying to draw, I can't physically draw using the shapes you've suggested. Are you saying that you can? You can pretty much draw anything or represent anything using those single shapes. And if you can't,
I mean,
you should question it and think, I can do this. Just what is it?
Yeah. So I would say that yes, basically. I mean, even people playing video games, they're all polygons. You know, hey, I can show you something. You know the people with these U that I drew. Okay, if you're drawing them like this, you could have the backgrounds from Super Mario. Okay. So I would say if you use the letters from the alphabet, if you use the circle, the square, and the triangle, I don't know who spotlighted me, but thank you. So, you know, here it's the circle and T, the letter T. I can draw the coronavirus, the circle and some lines, the lines we did there. Even this could be the Eiffel Tower. And if I'm not sure that people will recognize it, I could also write okay, so remember that you are allowed to use words. Okay. I don't know, Tom, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So where you've drawn the Eiffel Tower there, are you considering the upright bits on the Eiffel Tower, are they ellipses? Would you argue they're just ellipses?
Again, is it necessary for us to recognize the Eiffel Tower? Am I doing art? Am I doing a representation of reality, or am I making sure that people know that this is the Eiffel Tower?
I was just trying to get inside your thought process of thinking, right?
Yeah.
That's all. So if you drew, let's say they were straight, let's say you did some straight lines for the Eiffel Tower, it might not work as well. But you're thinking, right, I've got an ellipsis, I'll do the upright.
Well, I'll try. Of course, here I think it's needed, but then, yeah, I think it doesn't really work.
It doesn't work as well, right?
But it's about trying it, you know? Maybe then I would need to add something like this, but yeah, no, it doesn't really work. I think if you look at the Eiffel Tower, and this is the time where everyone will start looking at Google Images and start to look for a picture of the Eiffel Tower. Just look at the shape it has and try to, you know, if you compare the shape with this, try to see what works. And really, it's really about looking at things differently. And
I think that's another thing that you taught us as well, Charles Louis, was not every line has to touch the other lines.
Yeah, like here.
Yeah. And sometimes that space gives you a little bit more context than if you join them up.
So there's a difference now, and of course I can't undo it because this is maybe one thing on digital we can undo, but it's a small victory for all the other mess that you get. But anyway, now it's different suddenly because I've closed it off. So and this is really about like experimenting, practicing, and finding things and finding your own thing. And yes, of course, I'm teaching bikablo training, so of course, if you want to practice, I mean, there it's really like 2 days where we are completely immersed into this visual thinking, and so it's, yes, we spend the whole time drawing, but also reflecting on what we're doing, a bit like we did here.